Good morning and welcome to Coffee Time. Welcome to Armenia, Colombia. It looks like it's working today. Text me if you don't think it's working. So today I'm going to talk about, well, first of all, I welcomed you to Coffee Time. What is Coffee Time? Somebody told me to say this at the beginning, so every time, so I'm going to try to do that. Coffee Time, this time every week, once a week. It's my opportunity to discuss some things that have been on my mind, maybe have happened over the course of the last week, address certain things that come up, and it's a live interaction. And so if you're on TV, you got to look on your phone or laptop for the live comments. And if you're on phone or laptop, then to the right or to the right and down, you'll see the live comments. A little community has grown up in there. And I'm told that some people have contacted and talked to each other outside of these, and in one case, plan to get together to meet up. So that's a real positive thing. Good morning from the wife and I. Good morning, Doc. So today I'm going to talk about, well, I have a travel tip related to credit cards. I'm going to have a little lesson on Spanish so that you don't look like a newbie and embarrass yourself. I'm going to talk a little bit about the coronavirus because I get too many messages on certain topics every week. You know, before I got crazy topics about are there riots happening, and you know, in Ecuador and here, are you safe? Now it's the coronavirus, so I'll talk a little bit about that. And Superbowl. Now, I'm not really going to talk about the game itself, but I'm going to talk about how it relates to here and how do you get to watch it. So, last week's video where I talked about marijuana and the laws here in Colombia, it was demonetized. And so I sent a thing off to Facebook or to YouTube, wonderful YouTube, Google, and said, you know, why are you demonetizing this? Could you review it? Because there's nothing in there that's you know, anything to be ashamed of. They had said it was unsuitable for advertisers. And so it came back and they said, yeah, this is bad. We're not going to be able to monetize it. And with the pennies that they send, you know, every so often, it honestly anymore, it doesn't make much difference. A few years ago, it would have been a big deal, but now it doesn't really matter much. But it was kind of annoying. And so they confirmed that. But this is what got me, is I went back a couple days ago and turned it on, that video, and they're advertising on it. So it's not suitable for advertisers, but they're running ads on it. I had an illegal theft. Okay. So, I was asked how are these people contributing here on this this Coffee Time Live? How they're seeing me mention the contributions, but they don't know, you know, how it's being done. If you go to the live chat, which, like I said, is to the right or down, depending on what you're watching it on, you'll see where you can enter in a comment. Just below that, you'll see the little emoji face where you can choose an emoji and send it. And right next to that is a square with a dollar sign. If you click on that, that's how you do the contributions. I guess I've never mentioned that before. Ha ha ha. So they adjusted the playback speed to 1.5 so it would speed me up, and now I sound normal. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I get that. Tomorrow, Monday, I'm going to Pereira, and I'm returning back home Tuesday late afternoon, and I'm going to have enough video footage for 2, maybe 3 videos covering things in Pareda, some things of what to do. I'm going to try to get to the zoo. They've got a nice zoo there, but I haven't been there in a couple decades. But it was nice then. I assume it's nicer now. And a couple nice gringoized or, you know, middle class to upper middle class neighborhoods. You know, I'm going to try, bite the bullet and go to Pareda, and hopefully I won't sweat to death, and hopefully I won't be accosted by vagabonds, and, you know, hopefully I can put enough video stuff together before I hightail it out of there. Yes, Reese, it is just for you. That's actually true. I promised that I would get it before you made your trip down here, and I've had some things go on here for the last almost 4 weeks that have kind of kept me close to my apartment. And tomorrow I'm going to head over. So late, but it'll still be on time for you. You should avoid Super Chat and post a PayPal link. That way people aren't paying YouTube for sending you money. Well, first of all, I don't have PayPal. I will never have them again after getting ripped off twice by them and having to go through all kinds of legal action to get money back from them 2 times in my life. I will never have them again. However, PayPal also takes part of that money. So it's not a free transaction. And as a matter of fact, YouTube does take some, but it's no worse than what PayPal is. If people want to donate and have it go through 100%, the only way to do that is to use Google Pay. And you can see that in my in the comments below the video in that section. I have different ways. There's GoFundMe and a Patreon account. And I also have the email address, which is different than other emails I use. I have that email specifically for the Google Pay. But I appreciate the comment. All right, let's get on with the topics. First of all, the travel hint. This won't be drawn out. It comes up a lot. People asking me, comments on the Facebook forums. I came down to Colombia and I tried to use my credit card / debit card, and the ATM machine wouldn't take it. Well, first of all, it depends on your bank if it's compatible, but ATMs here are pretty much like if you were traveling in the United States. They're not some weird foreign thing. It might be a different name of a bank, but they all go by the networks that they operate in. So if you look on your debit credit card, you'll see the little symbols of where they're accepted. And the same thing applies here. I had a debit card when I was living in North Carolina that for some reason the ATMs near my house, it wouldn't accept it. But if I went to a different one, it would accept it, and I couldn't figure out why. And then I realized it was a symbol. It wasn't those ATMs near my house. They weren't on the network. So that's the first thing to look at. But here's what usually it is. Generally, you have to advise your bank that you're going to be out of the country. If you don't advise them that you're going to be out of the country, they think somebody stole it, because there's a lot of online theft, and then somebody in Nigeria or wherever is trying to, cash in on that theft. And so they're watching out for you. And contribution, thank you, Doc, appreciate it. That one just popped up in a huge banner that lately I haven't been seeing those, so maybe things are working again. So banks, if they don't know that you're going to be out of the country, they'll just lock your credit card. And you can call in and go through all the rigmarole that you have to go through. Geez, I sound like Joe Biden now. I just said rigmarole. Where am I? Oh, okay, no politics. I'm sorry, I couldn't help it. But my bank, I use Capital One, and it seems that Capital One is pretty much problem free, which is why I got them before I came down here. I did some research before I left the United States. I don't get charged ATM fees and all of that good stuff. So the way Capital One used to work, I could go online and there was a category and I could click it, and for 1 month they would know that I was out of the country. But every month I would have to go and reinitialize that. Sometime in the last 2 years, they stopped that requirement. You can tell them one time and you're done. I haven't. Well, last time I had to do it, I was living in Cuenca, Ecuador. So it's been quite some time. So that's what most of the issues are. So, make sure that your card is compatible. It's not just because you're in Colombia, it's because of the networks. And the other thing is, make sure that your bank isn't locking or blocking your card because you're out of the country. Okay, a little Spanish lesson for today. This is kind of a pet peeve of mine, and I was guilty of it my first couple years in Ecuador. I was guilty of it because you don't know any better. You're not a Spanish speaker, so you don't really know any better. Apologies. Now, it seems that we all learn as we're reading or doing online or whatever it is, we learn lo siento. That's an apology. Except if you use lo siento, it like hurts the ears. It's cringeworthy. It is not a good way to apologize, and I'm going to explain why. Okay, first of all, if you bump into somebody in line, you just oops. What would you say in English? Pardon me, or excuse me. Not excuse me. You would just say excuse me or pardon me. In Spanish, a very minor infraction like that, it's not really a matter of guilt or fault. It's just an oops. That would be perdón. Okay? Perdóneme. Pardon me. Now, if it's something a little bit more, like I bump into somebody and I knock a book out of their arms. So now it's escalated a little bit. Oops. This would be disculpe. It's sorry, my fault. Oops. Disculpe. Disculpe-me. Now the last one, lo siento. This is for things that are a little more egregious. It's like the equivalent in English would be, I'm so sorry. Like, I'm so sorry for running over your dog. Or, I'm so sorry, I didn't know it was your wife. Or, I'm so sorry, I didn't know it was your daughter. Okay, bad joke, but it's at that level. And so when you bump into somebody and you go, oops, and you say lo siento, it's like, it's so out of whack. It's so out there. It's cringeworthy. And of course, people are very polite and they won't say anything, and they probably know what you mean. But, once you know and you start to see it and what people use, it's this hierarchy becomes so clear to you. And I mean, you don't want to look like you don't know anything. And so make a note. Hold on a second. Okay, questions are coming. We'll get to it shortly. If you do post up questions, please put 4 question marks at the beginning so I can spot them. Coronavirus. Yeah, it's all the talk. And rightfully so, I guess. I mean, in the scheme of things, it's like a needle in a haystack is more plentiful than, people that have coronavirus. But, that's likely to change. Yesterday, as of the 1st, I looked this up this morning. As of yesterday, the number of reported cases worldwide was just shy of 12,000. This morning when I looked, as of this morning, it added another 2,500. So it's almost 14,500, close to it. It's in, as of yesterday, it was in 25 countries, and they said, I think it was 309 or 314, just over 300 have died from it. And so every day this is growing exponentially. You know, so is it dangerous in Colombia? Well, right now, no. Right now there are no cases, 0. There was one that was misreported. Well, it was like, well, he's got the flu, so maybe, or pneumonia, I think it was, and maybe he's got it. You know, but they were able to rule it out pretty quickly. So there's been no cases. In Ecuador, there was a similar thing, and I'm not sure why, but it took him like 3 days to figure out that he didn't have the coronavirus. So somebody, it was either Chinese or just came from China. The reporting on it, the reporting there isn't always the best, and it was kind of sketchy. So as of this morning, there's no cases in Ecuador and there's no cases in Colombia, but apparently it's pretty contagious, and it looks like most of them, obviously, most of them are in Asia, but then the second area that has the second most is Europe, and there's a total of, I think, 8 as of this morning in the United States. Thank you, Richard. I appreciate the contribution. Maybe I won't have to out of pocket this whole trip this coming week. Yeah, I was waiting for a certain amount to come in to cover the hotel, and so because I need to stay over, even though I'm close. Well, you'll see when I do the videos. Anyway, so that's the thing on the coronavirus. I think we all need to be thoughtful of it. I've seen quite a few people, and out walking around, I've seen quite a few people here actually wearing those masks. So I think people here, oh, certainly as aware of it as anywhere else. And I think they're probably freaking out as much as many other places. You know, everybody tends to freak out over it. Of course, this is now when I have to go out and travel, when I'm stuck in my apartment, you know, that you're safe. But, well, actually you don't, because I get home deliveries sometimes. So that's the thing on the coronavirus. And last item on my list here is Super Bowl topic. Not last year, but because I was here, but the couple years before that, I did my Super Bowls in Cuenca at Santa Canela. I know the owner, and he puts on these great Super Bowl parties. You know, well over 100 people show up. He's got the big screen going on. It's very well done. He has special menus. He's got a hostel right there, so you know you can rent a room and you know do the Super Bowl thing. He's got a restaurant, and he's got this huge bar, beautiful place, and it's right there, you know, right in the center of town. And it was a lot of fun. And you know, being friends with the owner, you know, I would get there early and chit chat, and I've done a couple videos at the Super Bowls there. I have to admit, because of all the crowd, I always get a little uncomfortable, and I always leave as soon as the game is over. And I would rent a room, and I'd go back to my room. Even though I was living there in Cuenca, it was just, you know, it was a hassle there trying to get taxis, you know, later at night when you get close to midnight. So I just would rent a room. Plus, he would give me a deal. So here, Super Bowl isn't a big thing for me, actually, because if it's not my team, the Bills, which it hasn't been for, what, 20 some years, Super Bowl 25. So it's been a very long time. You know, I don't really care. You know, we've got San Francisco, you know, Kansas City. Well, you know, I kind of root for Kansas City. They're AFC. And I'll watch it today. You know, hopefully it'll be a good game. If it's not, I'll turn it off. But you can do whatever you want to do. I mean, I could have a party, I could invite people. People, even though Super Bowl isn't a giant thing here, there's a lot of people that watch it, and a lot of people are interested. And this year, you're probably going to have a lot of Colombians interested in it. Now, why, may you ask? Yeah, go ahead, ask me. Why? Okay, why? I heard you. Because the halftime show has Jennifer Lopez, but it has Shakira. And Shakira is this internationally famous singer from Colombia. So you probably know that. And if you don't know it, you should know it. And I like a lot of her music. And so it's going to be in halftime. So there's going to be a lot of interest in Colombia, you know, because of that, even if it's just a halftime show. I'm still not inviting people over. But the question that comes up, and then I'll get to these questions, is what do you do for TV? How do you watch TV? How are you going to watch the Super Bowl? You know, because it's not on Netflix and it's not on blah, blah, blah. And if you get cable, which I don't recommend, it's way expensive. And so many things aren't in English. And the Super Bowls are in Spanish. And I just, you know, I'm an English speaker. So what do you do? Well, I have a Fire Stick. I have several Fire Sticks. By the way, thank you, Robert, because one of them died. Robert brought me down the newest model, which has some advantages to it, I found out. So I have a Fire Stick. I suggest using a Fire Stick. They're really good. I've been using them for years now. And you can put programs on there. Now, I have Netflix on there. I have Kodi. Now, Kodi is a shell program, and into it, you can put various packages. It'll be movies and TV, live sports. And so I have a live sports package in Kodi. And so I can look it up and find it. And Kodi isn't, you know, it can be a little frustrating sometimes. Sometimes you get a little buffering. Sometimes you have to find different links. For the most part, it's okay. I watched all my Bills games this year on Kodi and didn't miss any. So, you know, there's that. But just recently, I did a search for live TV. I don't watch TV live, and recently, since I've had this program, I realize why I don't like to watch live TV. It's just endless advertising and breaks. But I saw this. I wanted a live TV for a couple particular reasons. And so I saw this one where it's not through Kodi. It's a program that you can download right to Fire Stick. There's various places you can get instructions for it. YouTube has instructions for everything. But it was very simple. And I know how to do it anyway, but it's a simple process. Use a downloader. So I downloaded it, put it on there. The thing works great. It's called Oreo TV. So if you do a search for Oreo TV, you'll find it. Within Oreo TV for live, you've got a number of choices. There's some from India, different ones. The one that I use, it's called Unicorn TV. So you got Oreo TV and then Unicorn TV Live. It has, you might as well have Time Warner cable. It's got everything in there. It runs at HD. It's not 4K, which is fine. I don't have 4K TVs anyway, but it does run 1080. It's not just 720. It does run 1080. Looks fantastic. I haven't had anything with any buffering. It works like Netflix, just starts right up. It does once in a while, a screen will pop up for an advertisement, and that's what makes it legal. And so you click past the advertisement, you don't have to go look at it, and the show comes on. And that's how I'm going to watch Super Bowl today. I'm going to watch it there because there's zero buffering, and the picture is 1080, works great. My internet runs at 30. It's not the fastest. I can get faster here, but that's as fast as I need. I can run several TVs, upload videos. I can do all of it at the same time. I've got Alexas, play music. So all of this stuff can happen with 30. I don't need anything faster than that. Mine is very consistent. Every time I check it, it's 29 or 30. It's always right there. I don't have any dead spots during the day, and I use Movistar as the company. So that's how I'm going to watch my Super Bowl today. If you don't know how to do it, you still have time to do it. It's not that difficult. So looking forward to watching Shakira. Okay, let's get to the questions. Whoa, they go way back. Have you ever done or thought about a trip to Cartago? What do you estimate the cost of such a day trip? It would be a minimal cost. It's not that far. It's similar to going to Pereira. As a matter of fact, it's probably quicker to go to Pereira than to Cartago. Hour and something by bus to go there. I haven't contemplated it. I know two people that live there, but as I tell you all the time, I'm kind of an antisocial person. I've been invited for lunches, and I just thought, nah. I don't find it that interesting. I have been through it before several times, and it just, I don't know. It's like in the United States, there's so many cities and towns and villages, and if you're traveling across country, which I've done a zillion times driving across, even on motorcycle, and you go through different towns, and a lot of them are just like, yeah, it's just another town. And then certain ones come along and go, hey, it's really awesome, it's unique, there's something cool. Like Albany doesn't really interest me, but when you're coming out of Albany and headed back towards Rochester, New York, there's a little town, I don't even remember the name of it, but it's got this river, and on the banks of the river, there's these old steel bridges, and there's several of them. And it's got these old buildings that are really upkept well from the 1900s. And it's so picturesque, and it's got some mountains in the background. It's just kind of a gorgeous spot. I've been through there in the spring. I've been through there in the fall. And I can't remember the name of the place, but it's really interesting. And I always thought, I want to go explore there a little bit, and never did. Well, when I go through Cartago, it's kind of the same thing, is that it's just another town. It doesn't really pique my interest. But if anybody's really interested, I'll probably go check it out for you. I try not to do things that are going to bore me, because I got to be there and do it. What's it cost? It'll probably cost me a whopping $30-40 or something. It won't cost very much, maybe not even that. But yeah, so there's that. Another Spanish question: how do they express the monetary values in Colombia? Do they really verbalize those huge, or do they truncate? Well, a million is millones. So it's 2 million is dos millones. If it's 100,000, ciento mil, so 1,000 is mil, and so they do it like that. Now you'll see sometimes where it's a kind of a given. Let's say I'm looking on Facebook and there's a washing machine of it's nice, and it says 500. Well, it's not going to be 500 million. And it's not going to be 50,000 or what. It's going to be 500,000. So they'll leave off those 3 zeros. That's in writing. Also, in talking to people, sometimes, let's say something's 20,000, 20 mil. They might just say 20, but you don't hear that often. People don't shortcut that much, and so the numbers aren't really all that atrocious anyway. Okay, I'm trying to sort through the conversation. Question. Okay, question: can I be your moderator in case the chat gets rowdy? Well, Charles, I don't think that'd be a good idea, because if the chat gets rowdy, it's probably you. Let's see. Weather question. Can you talk about the characteristics of the rain during the seasons and the different areas you have some experience, knowledge of in Colombia? I'm a little confused about that question. Okay, weather here in the coffee region, Ibagué, tends to be a lot of days in the 80s. In Armenia, it's kind of a mixture of low 80s. Every once in a while, a creep into 86. I think the hottest I've seen it here was 88, but it was a breezy day. It's always breezy here. Mostly in the 70s. Right now, it's probably about 77, something like that. Pereira, it just kind of runs hot. The air is dead. It sits in an area where it just doesn't have a lot of breeze, and it kind of traps the air. Medellin is somewhat like that, although it's a lot cooler than Pereira. But that's why you get the smog in Medellin, because the air just kind of gets trapped sometimes. And in Pereira, you get smog. And so that's part of what I don't like about there, because I can have 80 degrees here in Armenia, but with the breeze all the time, with it comes these clouds. It's because of where it's located, even though Pereira is less than 20 miles away. It makes it comfortable to go out. In Pereira, I can have that same 80 degrees, but when the air is just dead and you don't get that cloud cover, the sun's kind of beating down on you. It just feels miserable. I've been so uncomfortable from heat in Pereira through my life. That's part of the reason I'm just not a fan of it. You can get used to anything. I mean, it's nowhere near as hot as the time I spent in the Philippines when it can get up to like 120 degrees, but it's not that comfortable. Manizales runs mostly in the 70s. It's a little cooler because it's at 7,200 feet. Rain in Armenia runs kind of in a pattern. I've talked about it. It's mostly in the afternoon or evenings. In Manizales, the rain comes kind of whenever, and Pereira's like that. So I can't really answer your question very well, because microclimates are a thing here. And so anywhere in the Andes, you can have one type of climate and go 3 miles away and have a different type of climate. I can be standing in a spot and be overcast and raining, and I could look a couple football fields away and see the sun shining on those people. It's not an exception, it's the rule. The microclimates are a big thing here. But a lot of Colombia is just hot, like Cali, Cartagena. It's really, really hot. One of the reasons I don't like going to Cali is it's every time I've ever been, which dozens of times, it's just always been miserable there. And I like to be able to go out and not be eaten up by mosquitoes and not sweat to death. Who doesn't want to be comfortable? So I don't know if I could answer your question very well, but that's the answer I got. Is there any place in Colombia that you've wanted to visit but haven't been to yet? Yeah, I mean, I've been to, I would say, most of Colombia, but Bucaramanga I really want to go to. I haven't been. I can't afford to go right now. I'm hoping I get to go this year. From what I know about it, it's a beautiful place, a fascinating place. It's got a section that, a lot of people have said it kind of reminds them of Hollywood, mansions on the hill kind of thing. I really want to go. And Santa Marta, I've never been to, and I would like to go to Santa Marta. My favorite places are San Andreas, the islands, Providencia and San Andreas, that are off the, if you go from Panama to Jamaica and Colombia, they're Colombian-owned islands, quite a ways away from Colombia. And I had a great time there. It was hot, but the ocean breezes are really strong, and it was a blast. It was a lot of fun. Thank you. I appreciate the contribution, Mr. Jeffrey. I mean, Hugh. So that's a great place. Anywhere here in the coffee region except Pereira, I really love. Manizales, Ibagué, Armenia, all these little towns, Finlandia, things I've done videos on, I've really loved. When you get to the southern part, like Popayan, the White City, boring to me, but Pasto, now you're really with the people and culture of Ecuador. If you want to be in Ecuador, you go to Pasto. It's in Colombia, but you might as well be in Ecuador. I mean, the culture of food there is guinea pig, and the people are the same people as in Ecuador, even though it's part of Colombia. It's actually a good way to experience what life is like in Ecuador, but have the cost of living of what it is in Colombia. Pasto, it has a lot of similarities to Cuenca. It's in a basin. The word Cuenca means basin, so it's got mountains surrounding it. It's a similar size, like I said, same people. So there's a lot of similarities to it. Altitude is similar. But places down in the south part, I'm just not really that into it. I mentioned Cali, don't like that. Bogota, it's such a huge city. There's some really cool things in Bogota, so if you like to get out and explore different things, I mean, don't, just because I don't like something doesn't mean you shouldn't go check it out. I may really not like Pereira, but I have personal reasons for it. Maybe I've got some scarring that took place some years ago or something. I've got personal hangups. Don't let that slow you down. Take what I tell you is my experiences, best facts I can come up with, but it's still tempered with, my opinions. And, you don't have to be in lockstep with that. Of course, you already know that. Colombian fresh food is a good topic. Since moving back to the U.S., cholesterol, increased blood pressure, food without preservatives, easy to find in Colombia. I hear you, but I don't think it's so much the food as lifestyle. When you live in Colombia, you're kind of living a different lifestyle, but you could live the same lifestyle in Colombia as you do in the United States if you wanted to. So you could have all the, snacky cakes and chippy chips and soda pops, and you can have all that crap if you want. I mean, you walk around Armenia and you see some fat people, fatter than me, eating salty papas, greasy hot dogs and greasy French fries. So, preservatives, I mean, you go into the store and you have the same things on the shelf. But I think when you come down here, partly because the weather is so much better than a lot of places we live in the United States, and not all, but particularly in this region, it's so temperate that every day pretty much you can go out. And it's interesting. So you want to go out and you want to walk around. In the United States, you've lived somewhere for a long time, and I've already seen it a million times. I think that has more to do with it. Maybe when you come here, you choose to eat differently. Back in the United States, you can eat non-preservative, organic, cook your own food, no problem. That's actually not because of the health aspect, but because of flavor. For me, I would get the the expensive eggs. I would buy the organic, whatever, foofy tomatoes, because the tomatoes tasted like tomatoes. They didn't taste like wax. And the eggs tasted like eggs. They didn't taste like nothing. And so and I would cook, as I do here, I cook most of my stuff. I mean, why get a box of macaroni and cheese when it's so easy just to make macaroni and cheese and it's going to taste so much better? And so I've always kind of lived that way. I didn't get fat because of eating snacky cakes. I got fat for laying in bed for a couple of years. But I think you can live however you want to live, whether you're there or here. But it does kind of seem that way. But having been down here for a while, I really think it's just the choices you make. And if you go back there, you can make those same choices. Until I was in bed for a couple of years, I wasn't a fat boy, So, okay. Is there such a thing as affordable property in a coffee region? Well, affordable is subjective, but I would say, yeah. I mean, I'm not sure. Real estate here is considerably less than most places in the United States. You can get a nice 2 or 3 bedroom condo in a nice building, for example, for $20,000 or $30,000. You can also spend $80,000 or $100,000, but you're not really going to spend, $250,000. Where in the United States it's pretty easy. As far as you want to go here and buy an acre, out in the countryside, maybe do some little coffee plantation. Acreage here is going to be less in most areas than it would be in most areas in the United States. So I would say, yeah, affordable. I'm not an expert on it, but I do look at, real estate listings and things like that. And, I'm usually pleasantly surprised, although I'm also shocked sometimes where I'll see a condo, for example, that it's a real nice one, would typically go for $60,000 to $80,000. And all of a sudden I'll see one that's really no different, but they're selling it for 140, 160,000. It's like double. And I was going, why? And why would anybody pay that when you have others? And there's so many available. It's not like it's like an only option. So that kind of boggles my mind. But hey, it's, if they find a buyer, great. But most likely what will happen is somebody will like the place and come back with an offer, and they're going to accept way, way, way less. I doubt they're going to get double unless you get somebody out of the country who doesn't pay any attention and says, "Oh, 140,000. Oh my God, that's such a great price. I'll take it." Nothing like burning money. Okay, what else I could say from walking around Manizales, it's a challenge to find healthy food, but you can find it. Yeah, that's kind of a point. It's not hard once you have things dialed in. You can go in whatever direction, vegan, vegetarian, healthy, but Colombia is in love with fast food. You're going to find hamburgers and hot dogs and chicken wings and pizza on every corner. They're not, I had somebody say, well, they're really trying to attract the gringos. No, they're not trying to attract gringos. They love the food. You have a lot of people here that travel the world over, loves hamburgers. It's hard pressed anymore to go anywhere except maybe Ecuador, but without finding, good options for things like burgers. But buffalo chicken wings are big, so you can get all of those things. But within 10-minute walking distance of my apartment, there's a couple vegan restaurants, and then there's a couple vegetarian. And if you call up for home delivery, most of the places, and there's dozens and dozens and dozens of restaurants, most restaurants will have vegetarian options. Not necessarily vegan options, but they will have vegetarian options. You can get the same dish in one place and have it really probably not that good for you, but get it somewhere else, and by the way they prepared and what they used, could be considered healthy, and it could be the same dish. So it's just really a matter of learning where it is. But if you're walking down the street, there's a good chance you're going to see burgers, wings, pizza. But there's going to be every block or two, you're going to have a pretty good restaurant. So, yeah, I get your point. Food. How is the food quality eating out with respect to the above, considering food preservatives, general meat quality? The general meat is less biotics and more pasture. Yeah, I've talked about this in the past. There's, for example, there's a beef board, there's a pork board, there's certifications for it. The food system here is pretty much natural. It's a big thing. A lot of Colombians I meet think about that, or concerned about that. They comment on it, and so there's preservatives out there. You know, you have to use preservatives, and all preservatives aren't necessarily a bad thing. But you know, if you get meat here, well, I can just tell you, I've been here, back down here, over a year and a half, and I haven't had food poisoning one time. Where in Ecuador, I had it fairly often. Well, once or twice a year. To me, that's pretty often. In the U.S., I would get food poisoning maybe once a decade. So the food sources here are good, but it's like anywhere. There's a mixture. You have to get to know them. What you don't have in Ecuador, you have a lot of places that are using pesticides, banned pesticides, or banned chemical fertilizers. They're using gray water, so there's a big parasite problem. The Ecuador, it's pretty unregulated. Where here you have a certain level of regulations for health and safety, and those things aren't done. So you start off in a better situation. And that may be why a lot of the fruits and vegetables here don't look like some Frankenstein science experiment like I would see there in the markets. You say, oh, that's because it's more natural. No, there's something that distorted that. It doesn't naturally look like that. I know, because when I grew up, we grew our own food, and I never saw a carrot come out with 3 arms and a big fat top, and look like some kind of monstrosity. But when you went to the markets in Ecuador, you would see that a lot. And I think the chemical base that they use is probably not that good for you. I avoided a lot of the markets because of that. And it's funny, because you hear people talk, it's like, oh, the food and vegetables are the best. Well, not once you start researching, it's kind of a horror story there. It is not here. Okay, what do we got here? What is Frisbee chicken? Frisbee chicken is like a KFC, only really, really, really good. Kind of reminds me of Bojangles, and you can get it spicy also. Have you heard? I heard about scams with Finca properties targeting Ringos. I haven't heard anything, like a regular thing, but I think you're going to find anybody that thinks if you're going to be an easy mark. I think a lot of people that are selling properly wouldn't have any qualms about picking your pocket if you let them. Know what you're doing. Frisbee is my favorite fast food chicken. Probably horrible for me, but very tasty. Yeah, I like Frisbee, and I have it probably once every couple months. It's just fried chicken, but it's really tasty. I'm not sure. I don't know if they put some kind of drugs in it or something. I don't know. It's really tasty. It's really well done. KFC, there's one here that I'll get every once in a while also. They'll run specials, and it's like, oh my God, it's so cheap. And usually it's pretty decent. But every once in a while, it's like, I think it depends on the people that are working there. Okay. I've had the most burgers undercooked in Manizales. I expected the opposite. I never had one undercooked in Manizales. So I don't know. Are they asking you? Maybe you're saying something that causes them to do it. No, I'm not blaming the victim. I'm just saying, maybe they're asking you how to cook it, and maybe what you're telling them, they're misunderstanding it. Or I don't know. I don't know. If you're worried about it, just tell them medio. Just, make sure that they know how you want it cooked. Okay, that looks like the end of the questions. Okay, no, I didn't ask, and nor did they. Well, if you're running into it, just tell them that you want it cooked medium. Okay, that's it for the questions apparently. So we're going to wrap it up here. Go get ready for the big game, and got some contributions today. I saw them. They came up with the flags like they used to do. I really appreciate it. I thank you for that. And if you need to contact me, don't forget, you can always, shoot me off an email. And so, where is it? We'll end it here. I'll see you next week, and be looking for those potato videos.